So that was absolutely a big strikeout. The fish and chips lady, as soon as I got close, she's like, "I'm so sorry, we're closed." And they're closed for the season. She said they'll reopen in July. So that's it. So I paddled all this way, 10K. Well, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to BC. I'm now on my second stint back into BC, and this is gonna be my final stint. After my third stint, I'm saying stint a lot. Anyways, I'm at Moy Lake, and I am just inside Moy Lake Provincial Park. I'm outside of Moy, BC, which is not far from Cranbrook. Cranbrook, I think, is probably the closest town. Anyways, we're about to go canoeing. This lake looks quite stunning, albeit it is very smoky. I believe there's a prescribed fire somewhere, and it's been really smoky from my spot where I came in at, through Canal Flats, through Skookumchuck where I spent the night. Just very smoky, and still very smoky. With that being said, I don't know a huge amount about this lake. I think I can paddle a long way on this lake, so that's the plan. There is a town called Moy, BC, which I would like to paddle to, maybe go get something to eat there. That is my plan. I do not know if it is possible, because obviously this lake is long, and then it, according to Google Maps, it narrows, and there's maybe a river in between two sections of lake. I'm not 100% sure that I can get through. Either way, we're gonna go find out. So let's go. So Moy Lake, to be totally honest with you, I had never heard of this place until yesterday, when I was just laying in the back of the van, hiding out from the mosquitoes, and trying to plan my route home on Google Maps. And then right next to Highway 95, this lake caught my attention. The preview pictures made it look stunning, some cursory research made it seem paddleable, and pretty quickly became obvious that paddling Moy Lake was going to be the best way to welcome myself back to BC. Again. I'm not even sure if it's been a full 2 weeks since I temporarily welcomed myself back to BC by canoeing on another beautiful BC lake, Columbia Lake. And both of these lakes had me questioning why I ever left home to begin with. If you've been following along with my journey, you've seen some of the lakes I tried to paddle in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The green algae-filled water with warnings of toxicity, and the shoreline being the only thing that you can see. Now back in BC, the mountains line the shore, the water is clear, and this is just a previously anonymous lake sitting right next to the highway. Damn, it feels good to be home. Okay, so I have just pulled up onto this little beach here. I am about halfway down the first section of lake, and I feel good. I've been going for like 38 minutes, and honestly, it is so nice to be out here paddling. Weather's beautiful. I could do that with smoke, but overall, this is a great paddle so far. And yeah, we're just gonna keep going. That's the gist of it. Like I said, when I get to the end, it's gonna narrow, and I'm gonna have to readjust, decide if I can go through and be able to get back up. So that'll be the only decision. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep paddling until we get to the end, and I'll rejoin you at that point. So anyways, let's check this view and then hit the old lake. So about that wildfire smoke, it hit me as I came through Kootenay National Park, pretty much right as I entered back into BC. Not ideal, but at the same time fitting. You're not really paddling in BC in the summer unless you're doing it with wildfire smoke. That's just the reality here. So that's pretty sweet. You can see the train track right there. It's below the highway, but I could hear this train coming for so long, but it's moving pretty slow. Super cool. It's a little loud, but that's awesome. Anyways, you can sort of see I'm a little bit closer to the end where it gets shallow. So now you can see it. Narrow, not shallow. Maybe both, but narrow. Anyways, we're just gonna keep going. Keep checking out this train. Let's continue. As with a lot of Canadian history,
The history of Moy is intertwined with the railroad. In 1897, the town of Moy was founded, coinciding with the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway's Crow's Nest line. The Crow's Nest line was fully opened a year later, and it was able to connect many of the rich and resource mining towns here to the broader market and to help defend against American interests in the area. And as you can see, some 130 years later, the Moy Lake corridor is still an important route for the Canadian Railroad.
Well, I just pulled ashore. You can see the canoe down there. It is tied. The rope is laying on the shore. Anyways, it is tied off, and I just thought I'd come up here because I could see a piece of railroad track up there, and then I saw this little piece here, and I thought I might be able to take it as a souvenir. I do not believe it belongs to anyone, and I think that is small enough, and I'm late enough on this trip that I'm going to take that with me. Somebody's burning what looks like a railway tie or something. Fire grill. Maybe someone frequents the spot to fish, or just have campfires. But either way, that thing's mine. I think that's a fitting souvenir for this trip. Heavy, but not super heavy, and we're on day 67. So that being said, I'm gonna put this bad boy in the canoe. We're gonna finish. You can see it's starting to narrow, and I'm not exactly sure what to expect moving forward. So, well, I'll see you in a few seconds, a few minutes, I guess. I think that leaf might mean this is going to be a big leafy, shallow pathway. Anyways, let's go.
From this point forward, the lake begins to narrow, and there's a channel that separates the two big main lake bodies. My limited knowledge of the area and scarce research has me proceeding through here with caution. I was worried about there being some current in this channel that might leave me stranded on the wrong side, much like when I mindlessly did that on Lillooet Lake. But that turned out to be much more of a river than this. This was much more just a narrowing. Although the landscape does change here, the rocky shores become marshy, grassy, and it feels like you're in a totally new place, which is a great way to split up a long paddle.
Okay, so I just passed under this kind of sketchy bridge. I would not drive a car over it, but I feel like I'm almost positive that is somebody's driveway. Anyways, now my decision. I am in this little narrowing area, and the water is very calm. There's very little current, if any. So I'm totally confident I'm going to be able to paddle back up the other direction. And I think I may be halfway through this thing. I'm not exactly sure. But I'm just going to push on. I think I can get to Moy, the town, and check it out. Maybe still get something to eat. I'm not sure. But I don't think I'm that far away, so I'm just going to paddle to it and check it out.
The town of Moy was once a bustling town whose population boomed from 600 residents in 1900 to over 1,200 by 1909, both numbers being more than its current population. This area owed its boom to the aforementioned railway and also its silver, as the nearby St. Eugene mine was once considered the most important lead and silver mine in Canada, producing some $10 million worth of valuable ores and being a linchpin in the early days of the legendary mining conglomerate Cominco. Today, Moy is a much more sleepy town, and after a quick peruse of Google Maps, one attraction really stood out to me: Moy Fish and Chips, promising world-famous fish and chips and all the necessary small-town vibes one could want, which is exactly what I needed after this 10-plus kilometer paddle.
Well, I just pulled ashore, and we're going to scoot through there and go into town and grab something to eat. But literally right after I pulled up, we got a train coming through, so I'm going to have to wait out this train and then go get some food. The train's coming right now. Okay, the train is gone, so we are now crossing over by the general store. Apparently that place is 3 minutes away.
As I crossed over the tracks, I headed down the street, past the general store, and there it was. And as soon as the lady saw me, she told me they were closed for the season. Pain.
Well, that was a total strikeout up at that fish and chips place. As soon as I got there, she said it was closed for the season, reopened in July, which is a bummer. I paddled all this way, trying to get some fish and chips, and then when you get there, a day late and a dollar short, as they say. It sounds like this whole trip, if I'm totally honest, I feel like nothing has gone according to plan, but it is what it is. I made my way down to the Moy general store, got a couple cold Gatorades, some Cheetos Crunchy, and some Meat Matters pepperoni. This pepperoni is local to Kimberley, BC, so I guess I'll give it a little taste test before we head back into the water. Now I'm not gonna be able to open this pack. We're gonna have to knife it. Okay, here we go. Meat Matters pepperoni from the Moy General Store on the shores of Moy Lake. Moy Lake. That is pretty good pepperoni. Not super salty, like a lot of pepperonis. Pretty good flavor. Not super spicy. Actually, it's really good pepperoni. I don't know if it's gonna be better than fish and chips, but I'm not gonna complain too much. Okay, that's been my stop in Moy. We are about to get on the lake. It is already later than I would like it to be. We are not in danger, but we're just gonna have to put our head down, paddle. It's not gonna get dark, but it's gonna be, whatever, it doesn't matter, let's go.
Well, there you go. A day late and a dollar short. That pretty much sums up my time in Moy, and really my life as a whole. I'm not going to complain too much, and I have no ill will towards Moy, or Moy fish and chips. Frankly, this is what happens when you're on day 67 of a van life road trip. A road trip that will soon too be closed for the season. Now that I'm back in BC, and things are closing down around me, I'm really starting to feel like the end is near. This is the strangest part of a long solo road trip. When you're close to home, ready to go home, but you just can't go home. There's always more things to do, more places to go, and you're always chasing the next one. I didn't know Moy Lake existed. Now I'm 20 kilometers into paddling a beautiful lake. And although I struck out on lunch, it's hard to complain about the day that I had. Eating Cheetos and gas station pepperoni on the lake beats working any day. So I'm going to keep pushing a little further on this road trip, even though I'm ready to go home. And we'll see if we can find something else hiding in plain sight right next to the highway. But until then, peace.